Fantastic. So let's get started then. I'll kind of move through a few slides that I have here. Oh, no, I won't because it's not going to work for me. Just give me a sec while I adjust my screen here. Fabulous. All right then, so today in terms of our objectives, obviously we're looking at advanced editing, so we're really wanting to give you guys some extra skills to be able to manipulate and structure your space in the way that you want. So the main objectives for today is understanding the content structure on Dropin. That's really an important point to know, I guess, for the next one, understanding what are the customizable elements of your Dropin space. So sometimes when we are putting information up onto our space, it's hard to know exactly where that information is going and how we can restructure it. And then also what things you are able to customize, so what things you have control to change, and what things that maybe you can't actually change because they're inbuilt, I guess, limitations to the system. And then in terms of more practical skills, we want to understand some of the editing functions that you have on Dropin. So when we think about changing things on your Dropin space, there's a few key places that we can go and look. Your block editor is something that we want to be very familiar with and understand what elements we can change in that and what things we can't. Knowing where to get to space details. Space details can have a few really cool, more advanced features for you to edit and manipulate. And then also understanding what the theme press designer is and how you can work with that. And then I guess the last thing is knowing where you can go to get more information. So I really want to set the expectation that after this session, don't expect yourselves to be 100% full bottle on absolutely everything. But if you, by the end of this session, know, okay, I guess the basic ideas of where you need to go and where you can go to find out more, you would have achieved a really good thing. Because half the time when we want to achieve something, we don't often remember the steps, but we might remember, well, I want to do this, I know it's possible, and this is where I need to go. And then from there we can kind of, I guess, find our way, for lack of a better word. Okay, so in terms of the agenda, we're going to look at the context structure, conceptualizing spaces, pages, and macros. So just going back to that basic analogy that I always do. Let me just see, Sonia, you've raised your hand. Does that mean you have a question? If you want to type your question, I can't see what your question is. I know that you've raised your hand on your form, but when you have your question, just type it in there and I'll see if I can address it. Okay? Cool. So in terms of the no problem then, Sonia, no problem at all. Cool. So the content structure, so go back to that basic analogy of understanding space, pages, and macros. Really want to highlight what can be customized in Dropin, so I'll walk you through those parts. Looking at editing the basic pages, so the block editor, then we'll look at how you can customize macros, what things can be customized, what things are limitations. Looking at how you can edit your home page, so really looking at how we can do that through the theme press designer, changing the look of the feel of what people can see when they first come to your space. Cool. And the next thing is editing your menu bar, also again through the theme press designer. Looking a little bit, we won't go into any detail about this, but just want to show you where this thing exists, is looking at setting permissions, so going into your space details. And then briefly touch on the fact that you can create templates as a really good way of automating some processes on your space. And then some final tips from me. Okay, so quite a lot, but we'll move through it quite quickly. So for those of you, we'll kind of, it's a summary. Won't go to the summary just yet. For those of you guys who aren't already familiar with the analogy I like to make, let's look at how we can, I guess, conceptualize spaces, pages, and macros. So I always like to really get people to understand the structure of Dropin, where content is stored, because I think it really helps the foundations for where you're gonna put information and what things you're gonna be able to change. So I always like to make a comparison between Dropin and a textbook. So if you imagine a textbook has a few different elements. The first thing it has is a cover page, and so the cover page of a textbook doesn't usually have any information stored on it. but it gives you a snapshot of what you might find inside the book, so what kind of content and information you might find. So that's the equivalent of the cover page of a textbook is this landing page or the home page of Dropin, all right? So when you first log in, this is what you see, and what's the main similarity with this is that while you see many things, there's no information actually stored here, okay? But it does give you a bit of a snapshot of what you might find inside the system. These boxes here are windows that are pulling information through from other areas of the system, all right? But no information is actually stored here, just like the textbook cover page. And a textbook is kind of broken down into what we call chapters, right? And each chapter of a textbook is dedicated to a particular topic or theme in which that topic or theme is discussed, all right? The equivalent of chapters in a textbook are what we call spaces on Dropin. So obviously you guys are more than familiar with this just because you both of you already have spaces of your own that you're managing. So spaces are typically used by networks like yourselves to be able to, basically have one section of the system dedicated just to that particular network group or one particular topic or theme. So when we go down here and we have a space list, this is a list of all the different chapters on Dropin, if you will. All right, and we can see there's quite a lot of things. And it just means one section of the system dedicated to a particular topic or theme, just like a chapter. All right, so let's go to an example. I like to always use emergency relief. We can also use the champion space. It's another example. Because obviously emergency relief would be a network. Dropin champions wouldn't necessarily be a network, but more of a group, and it has some additional skills and features on this particular space. So in terms of going back to the book, when you have a chapter, normally at the beginning of each chapter you have a chapter cover page. Again, this chapter cover page doesn't have any information on it. It really just has usually a summary of what you might find, dot points or a chapter objectives, has a title, maybe a pretty picture or a quote, something like that. No information is actually stored there. So the equivalent of a chapter cover page is our space homepage, all right? So come to the emergency relief space, and the emergency relief space homepage, again, no information is stored here, all right? These boxes or blocks, as we're going to call them from now on, they are like windows, and these windows are pulling information through from other areas of the system. All right, and what this particular space homepage does is gives you a snapshot of what you might find inside the system, or inside that particular space, so to speak. So then, where is all the information stored? All right, all the information of a textbook is stored on the pages, and that's exactly the same as on Dropin. All right, so when we think about pages, there's always a very clear hierarchy for pages in the system, and that's using, I guess, the wiki feature of, or the wiki structure of Dropin, of Dropin. So we can see here, this is an example of a page. There's lots of different page templates. A page template could be a basic page that looks like this, but this page template is actually a question page template. But you still see many of the same similarities. You've got a title here for your page. You have the main page, I guess, content here. At the bottom you have the option for comments, and here you have a contents bar. That is the basic structure of any page. And you can see here there is a bit of a structure to how things are put forward here. Okay? So any questions on that? I think I have given that analogy on more than one occasion, so hopefully that makes sense. But I think it's a really, really important foundation to be clear on, because when we start looking at what areas we're going to edit, we need to know, are we editing a page, are we editing a block, or what elements of the space are we editing? All right. So, if there are no questions, then the next point was what can be customized on Dropin. All right. So when you're thinking about your space, the things that you are able to customize, you're able to customize the page title and any of the page content. All right. You are able to customize, if you go back to your space homepage, you are able to customize, I guess, how many blocks. These windows here are called blocks. You're able to customize how many of them you want. If you want to have, say, 3 going across, or you want to have 1 and stretch it all across, you can do that. You can customize the titles, the colors of this back title part, the icon that is displayed. There's a few different types of icons. You can customize where buttons are displayed. These things here are called macros, all right? So if we come in here to edit it, we can see that this is not any sort of information, but this is rather what we call a macro. If we go in here, we edit this block. We don't actually, you see here, we've got a bunch of boxes here. Now these boxes don't look exactly what you had on the home page when you saw it. Okay, it came up completely different. These are what we call macros, and if you're not familiar with that, a macro is basically a piece of code which is packaged up very nicely into a nice little box, as we can see here, and it essentially tells the system to do something. So in this case, this is a blog post macro, and this is telling the system, show us all the different blogs on Dropin, okay? So you can use macros, and you can choose which ones you'd like to use. And you also have the ability to change how macros are displayed. So if we come in here and I go to edit the macro, it'll come up with a little dialog box, which will then tell me what things I can customize. So all of the things along here are things that you can customize. So to give you an example of what it might look like, at the moment we can see that the blog posts are displayed in, I guess, a title view, all right? But a good thing that we can do, let's say you don't want to see titles, let's say you want to see the entire blog post right there on the screen. If you do that, you can click here and it will change the display so that you have the title and you have the full content, who posted it and the date, and it will look something like this. It'll be quite a long stream, all right? So the same blog post, but you can see here it looks very, very different, all right? Another thing, if you go down, that you can do with this particular one, you can restrict what spaces the blog posts are pulled from, how many blog posts. You can sort by creation, you can sort by title or the date that it was modified. So you have quite a few things that you can do that are customized, all right? So sometimes, the reason I'm showing you this is because sometimes I get calls saying, oh, we have this currently displayed on our homepage or on our drop-in space, and I've noticed that the blog posts come out like this. Can we change it? Yes, with a lot of these macros, you can customize things. Now, there's no, I guess, a full textbook on all the different things that you can change with every one macro. But what you can do is you can always come in, have a look, and test it out and see what you might want to change. All right, whenever you click on the macro and press edit, it'll come up with this, and you can have a look and have a bit of a play. All right, some of these options might seem easy as to what you can do with them and logical, others won't. But you know what? Go in there, try it, press preview, see what it looks like, and see if you can get it to look the way you would like it to look. Is the main point. All right. So these are things that you can update. The other thing that you can modify, the other thing that you can change is your banner. So what it looks like, what kind of image you want displayed. And another thing you can edit is up here is the menu bar. All right. So there's quite a lot you can change. Essentially, you can dictate what you want to display, what titles, and how you want people to be able to navigate through your space. All right. Cool. All right, so I might move on to the next point. Again, stop me if you have questions, otherwise I'll keep moving through. So I want to look at editing basic pages and so what we call the block editor. So we kind of already did a little bit of that, but I really want to draw a very important link. So at the moment, I kind of went through here and I showed you when we went into this particular block, we kind of went in and edited it. All right, so I pressed X on my keypad. So those of you who don't know, if you press X on your keypad, it will basically come up with this editing view, all right? And what you will see here, if I'm clicking over, it says edit this block. So when you say edit this block, it means edit what's in this particular section, all right? If I want to edit what's in this one, I come over here and I press edit this block, all right? So it's all broken down into blocks, all right? Then, if I wanted to edit a page, let's go for another example of a page. You're going to notice that when I press the X, it comes up with the same view. And if I go here, this is also a block. All right. So the basic, I guess, blank part of a page is also a block. And if we click on here, we can see what's in there. And we got examples of a few macros plus a little bit of text. All right, it's a bit of a combination. All right, so I guess that's the points 3 and 4 that we've already kind of talked about with it in terms of customizing macros as well. Make sure that when you're customizing your macros, you're really thinking about what is going to be easy for your network. So sometimes people say it's often very difficult to be able to navigate the system if it's not clear where there's buttons. So to give an example, if you take this questions, questions or discussion macro that's been used for this one, all right, when you first install it, it actually just comes up with a discussion list and nothing else, all right? So all of the stuff here had to be added in, and I had to add a button called Create From Template, which was to ask a question. So if I hadn't have put that in there, then when people would have come in here, they wouldn't have necessarily seen the button to ask a question. They would have just seen this cool table. Now, that's all well and good, but then when someone wanted to ask a question, we needed to make sure that they can do that quickly. Now, it's not overly logical to have to come in here, open up the toolbar, press Create, and then come down and find, you know, discussion, wherever it is. Discussion, which is what you would have needed to do had you not had that button, all right? So there's always ways of making things easier for people by adding buttons and by customizing the view of your macros. So always keep that in mind, have a play, and know that whatever you do, you can undo if you don't like the way it looks, okay? All right, let's go straight into editing your homepage, all right? So we're getting a little bit more into the detail. I'm going to go to the Champions page just because that one's one that I can change without disrupting too many people. So as you can see here, I've got a bunch of different blocks. This one says welcome, this one says news, this one says polls. They're all the same color, and they're all, I don't know if I really like the title of this one. I think I might want to change it. So how we need to do that is going into the Theme Press Designer. To do that, you can come up to your toolbar, you can open it up. Let me just move a few things on my screen. Press Tools and go Theme Press Designer. All right. A shortcut to doing this is to press the full stop key on your keypad. All right. Oh dear. There we go. This is something. This warning that's been coming up, it's only been coming up in the last day, so I will fix it hopefully by the end of the week. Don't worry about it, it's not a problem. It doesn't normally come up, so we'll definitely get that fixed. So just close it, and then you'll be able to use it in exactly the same way. So we are aware of it, so I apologize if that's confusing for anyone. So Theme Press Designer. So when we go into here, what we can see is a different structure of the page that you are currently viewing, all right? So you got a page editor. If you go to Architect, it's changing things around the space, all right? So where you get your menu bars, etc. If you go into Theme, it's changing things for the entire system, all right? So please ask you to avoid this one at all costs. Shouldn't be any reason for you to come into this one. And if you do, it will slow down the system considerably. Architect you might need to use if we're going to edit up here. The main one you're going to use here for editing the home page is the page view, right? So how the page has been set up is based in layers and columns, all right? So a layer, if I click on here, it's just like a row, all right? As you can see, it goes across there. Go layer 2, and it will highlight, that's the layer there. Oh, it's quite a big layer, all right? A layer is something that you cannot see. It's just a way of structuring the page on the back end, all right? Imagine it's like an invisible table, all right? So you have layers are rows, all right? And then columns are obviously columns, and they go across. So in this layer, there's only one column, but if we go to layer 2, there is column 1, column 2, and column 3, all right? Again, these are just ways of divvying up the page, all right? So what we can see, though, is within those rows or columns, or these layers and columns, exist the blocks, all right? And the block is what you really want to edit. So if you click on block 1 of layer 2, column 1, it'll be here and it highlights it, okay? So you just need to move through and find out which one is the one that you're looking to edit. Now, if I want to edit news, I don't want it to be called news. I want it to be called, exciting news or updates or something like that. So I'm going to go column, layer 2, column 2, block 1. So we can see there's actually 2 blocks in this section. There's block 1, the block 2, it's the training calendar. So I want block 1. This is the one that I want to edit. And what I want to edit is how this is viewed up here. So the way I do that is I always go into handling. Okay. Now handling, I have the option to change the CSS class. The CSS class is basically the little piece of, I guess it's like a mini code, which tells which color you want to be displayed and which icon. Now, I don't expect anyone to be able to know and remember these particular codes. In fact, I've never bothered doing it myself. But I'll tell you now, and this is all available through the how-to guides, you can see there's a few things that you can change. So the first one is the color, red. All right, so that if you were to remove that, you can change it to something else. So we have a few weird colors, which again, we've got on the list of the how-to guides, you can see which colors are available. I know that cayenne is a color, that's one it's a blue color. I think we have green as well. I'm going to put green for this one. All right, and for the icon, I really don't want it to be a calendar anymore. I don't remember the specific name for this one. I think we have one for news. All right, if I click on that and see what that does, you have to refresh the page. There we go. Oh. Again, this is coming up. It should not be coming up. We'll fix that for you. But as you can see here, what's happened is you can see it's changed. So now no longer is it red, it's now green, and the icon has changed to a news icon. So there's a full list of what icons are available and what colors are available and what the representative code is in the how-to guides that we have currently on Dropin, so you can definitely see them. So as you can see, that changes the color. If you want to change the title, you can come in here and change it to whatever you want. And I'm going to put updates, all right, because I think that looks a little better. Again, when I click out of it, it wants me to refresh the page, which it will take a little while just because of that script error that keeps coming up, but it will definitely change. Just give it a moment to think. Okay. There we go. So now we've managed to change successfully the block that we are looking at. All right. So that's the way that you can change anything that you want here, like the title and the colors. And you can keep doing this other thing to rearrange what you want. One feature that's really, really good about this is that if you click on this little bar here, you can actually move the blocks to different spots. Previously, on the previous version of Dropin, that wasn't a feature, and it was very difficult for you to manipulate and change where these things would be viewed. But now you can obviously do that as well. So it is quite easy to quickly change the look and feel of your home page. Any questions on that? No worries. All right. So I'm just going to quickly go through editing the menu bar, and I think we might have to just maybe leave these two just in terms of time, unless you guys want to stay on. But I want to talk about editing the menu bar because I think that that's a really useful tool that a lot of people often need. All right. So one thing that I think can really make the biggest difference, or one of the biggest difference to your space, is making things accessible. All right. So changing the home page so that when people first go, what they need is what they see, all right, or they see the things that they need very easily, and they don't have to look for it. Obviously, you have the contents table or the contents bar, which will show you all the different pages that exist on Dropin, and if you see that, you can kind of find just about most things. But when you first come to a space, you really don't see that contents list of all the pages. So it's really important that you have links from these windows, or you have links from this top menu bar. Now, this top menu bar I think is easy for people to navigate because it is very similar to a website in the sense that you have a few different things. Oh dear, I have an alarm going off my phone. Apologies about that. Alright, so let's go through how we would edit what's on here, alright? Maybe I don't want this cool stuff to be saying cool stuff anymore. So again, you're going to go to your ThemePress Designer. So we're already in it at the moment, but if you've forgotten about how to get there, it's Tools, ThemePress Designer, alright? Otherwise, you can press the I on your keypad, so the dot, full stop on your keypad, and it will bring it up. So what we need to do here is move away from the page and actually go into editing things for the space, which you can do in the Architect tab. We come down here, we can see Menu, alright? So the first thing we need to do is access the specific menu for your space. So you can see here, once we click on Menu, we have a list of all of the different spaces on Dropin. That's because every single space on Dropin has its own unique menu, right? So you want to go down and find yours. So in this case, we've got Dropin Champions, and there'll be a little I at the end of it, which says View Page, all right? Now, when we say View Page, it's because the content for the type for your menu bar is actually stored on a page, all right? But it's a page that we can't really often see unless we come in and access it through here, all right? So we click on that, and it will take us to the page that we can manipulate to then, I guess, change our menus, all right? So we have here, it's just taking a moment to load because of ThemePress Designer. Okay. All right, so what we can see here is if you have a look at these blocks, they directly correspond with what is actually up here. So on the first block, or the first layer, if you will, it is always going to be what you see on the menu here, on the top menu. So Champions Home, what's new, upskilling toolkit, cool stuff. The remaining blocks, after the remaining layers, are what you see in the drop-down tab. So if I go what's new, okay, we see champion updates and other stuff. Champion updates, other stuff. Upskilling, how-to guides, champions training, training calendar. Those three things are falling here. So you can see that's a basic structure or pattern, all right? So let's say that you would like to edit what's in here. Well, it's very simple. If I have here and I say cool stuff, and I don't want it to say cool stuff anymore, the first thing I'm going to do, oh, hold on a second, move this out of the way. As I'm going to go to edit this block. So press X on your keypad. In the same way, click on here, and it's basically just this. So I don't want it to say cool stuff anymore. I want it to say really cool stuff. All right, it's an important distinction. Again, when you're editing things like your menu, make sure you don't notify your watchers because it's kind of annoying when you're editing the structure of your page to get constant updates from people about that. So now you can see here, oh, it says really cool stuff. Oh, it's a bit long. In fact, you know what? I think I might just get rid of it altogether. All right. Oh, okay. Sorry about this. We will get this fixed so that doesn't keep coming up because it's not normal. So I might go back in there again and actually move that back. All right. And I might just put it as cool stuff again because otherwise it'll be too long. Alright, cool. So I'm happy to keep that as cool stuff, but then you understand obviously how you can change what you want it to be. And now I want to change some of the items underneath it. So, oh, just give it a moment. It's still thinking. Okay, so go down, and I can see here, this is the stuff for cool stuff. Alright, and come in here. And I want to change what it is. So maybe I don't want these items to be there. Maybe I want it to be saying something else. And so this is where you start to think about, all right, well, what pages do I want people to be able to access quickly from a menu bar? And you can really just think about it and write whatever you want here. Try to keep it in I guess, a basic format that was easy to follow, or the dot points. All right, but whatever I add in here is, you know, something else. It'll allow people to kind of see it. Now, If you just write that, it'll come up and see it in the list, but it won't automatically link it. So the way you have to link it is how you would link anything in a normal page. You click on here, you press link, and then you search for whatever the page is. So maybe it's meeting minutes, maybe that's what you want people to see. You can come here and choose whether or not, what kind of meeting minutes, from what space it is, from the Kalgoorlie Boulder Early Years Strategy Group. You could put that one in there, probably not. But you understand exactly what you would like to do there. You find your link to your page and you add it there. All right, and then that will be linked so that when someone does come in here, they'll be able to see that option of something else and click on it. But you can see that it's on link. Idea Bank had been, none of them had been linked actually. So none of them have. Again, it's just taking a moment to think. All right. So you can see here, cool stuff at the top. It's linked to another page. If I follow that, it'll take me to a page, but these ones are not. All right. So you can definitely see that. Now, probably one thing you're wondering is, well, how did I get these to link up in the first place? Let's say that I just have these menu tabs and I don't have the ones with the little drop-down tab. Well, how are you going to do that? To add those types of things is very simple. So what I'm going to do to be able to demonstrate that is actually just delete it in the first place. I might remove that. But so if I want to do anything like that, if you notice here when we went to Architect and we went to Menus and we got into this view, now when we go back to the Theme Press Design, it doesn't say page, it says menu, right? So again, this is editing this particular menu page. You can see it's got a similar view, except now we don't use the word layer, we use the word panel layer and menu layer. So the menu layer is always this one, and the panel layer is always what you connect to the drop-down tabs. And so you can see here that when I have a panel layer, I have here, it says what's new, panel layer, upskilling, panel layer, toolkit. So you can see it's actually linking to these ones, all right? So if I go here, panel layer, cool stuff, it's linking to that one. Now I'm going to just demonstrate, then delete this panel layer and then show you again how you can recreate it. So if I go delete that panel layer, okay. So that then has disappeared. All right. And if we refresh this page, what we will see is that that cool stuff, little drop-down thing will go away. See? All right, so there's no drop-down option now for cool stuff because it's not been linked to anything. I'm really looking forward to getting that fixed. So let's say then that you have this blank one and you want to link it to something, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here, panel layer, and we need to add a panel layer, all right? So come down, so you can click from any one of these and you press add panel layer, okay? You can see here a new layer has been generated for us. Okay. And you can see here when we go to the menu bar, you can see it's quite different in the sense that it says not connected. What that means is not connected. It's not connected to any particular menu layer option. So how we do that, if you look in here, if we go to panel layer and we open it up, go into handling, you can see here it's got something called, in the name, it's called toolkit, all right? And then it comes up as a link to toolkit. So that's what we need to do for this one, all right? If in doubt, always copy what's already been recreated. It's my tip. Go into handling, and I want to link it to cool stuff. Oh, I can just put capital. All right, if I do that, click out of it, refresh the page, what you'll see is it actually connects it to there. And you can see here, the little drop-down arrow has come back again because we've linked it. All right. Okay, and then you can see here it's linked to cool stuff. All right, so that's how you would then link it, and then you would go forward and I guess add any options into that you wanted to come down the drop list one into this one here. And then when you click on it, it would come up. So at the moment, there is nothing there. Okay. All right. Any questions with that? Quite technical, quite detailed, but still very useful. All right, if there's no questions, I'll move on. Okay, so a few things to remember just with this one is that sometimes you might create something in here, for example, put an option, and then when you click on it, the view might be a little weird. Maybe there's a few gaps or it comes out on the side. If that happens, my recommendation is just delete it and start again, because sometimes what happens is if you add in one space after Champion's Home or a space before what's new, it will change the layout of it. So sometimes it can be a little bit temperamental, but usually when that happens, all I do is I delete it and re-put it there. And it doesn't take very long, and then you can often have a very clean view. All right. But if you do have any issues, just let me know. I'm happy to help you. Hopefully now you'll be able to change the view of that, and it will help you in terms of making your space more accessible. All right. So just in terms of time, I did want to just briefly show you where these things were, but I'm conscious that maybe you might have to run away. So I might just go to some of the final tips, and then if you want, I'm happy to stay on and talk about these things or answer any specific questions you have, but these ones I'm happy to talk to you both at a later date as well. So if you just want to indicate in the question section what is your preference, but I will just move to a summary and tips that you can be on your way. All right, so let's go to summary. So summary of a few tips. Again, these PowerPoints on drop-in so you can see them. To edit pages, you're going to look at editing blocks and blogs, which are the same thing, or any kind of page template. You're going to press X and click on the little pencil icon. That's your shortcut. All right. If you want to customize macros, inside the block editor, you're going to click over the macro and select edit. And from there, you're going to see all the different fields of things you'll be able to change and manipulate. I don't know all of the different things that you can change on every one macro, and often it's just a matter of trial and error and testing it out. So I often get people telling me new things all the time, and I go, wow, I never knew that. Especially my volunteers, they often come to me with cool things that they've discovered. So your guess is as good as mine with most of it. Definitely have a look, and remember, whatever you do, we can undo. All right. To edit the colors and blocks of your home page, you want to change your CSS class and the name in the ThemePress Designer. Now, a really important tip, if you're going to go to the ThemePress Designer, you're going to notice that both layers and columns have CSS classes and names. You really don't want to change the CSS class and the name of the layers or the columns, because then it will change the background, and it will make those layers and columns which are not visible, it will make them visible. So just make sure that you always change the CSS class and names of the block, and then you'll be fine. Again, don't worry if you do make a mistake with this, because anything you do can be undone. All right. Next one, to edit the menu bar, you want to go to the ThemePress Designer, and you want to click on the Architect, click Menu, and then click on the eye next to your space menu, all right? And from there, you'll be able to do that. We didn't talk about this, but when we want to talk about editing permissions, surveys, and templates, you're going to go to Space Details. If you want to stay on, I'm happy to show you that. Otherwise, we'll save that for another day. So, my tips. I always say these things, but I'll say them again. The best way to learn is to play and discover, all right? Children learn very, very quickly because they are not worried about making a mistake, and they're not worried about doing things wrong, all right? There is no wrong way for you to be able to use drop-in. And in fact, if you do things and you find after a trial and error that it's not possible, but you think it would be really useful, that's really good feedback for us to have, because then we can think about how we can make the system better in the future for other network groups, all right? So by playing and trying to discover different things, you will both learn. It will be a much more enjoyable experience. You won't be so frustrated, and you might learn and discover new things, all right? It's a new skill, so it will take a little bit of time, but what we're finding is that the people who are putting in some time to kind of play and have a bit of fun, discover new things, are getting really, really good results, and they're constantly coming to me telling me all these cool things that they've discovered. And I'm very much sure that there's a whole range of things that I really don't know, and a lot of other people are discovering instead. And it's quite fun and exciting. The features that we're currently using on Dropin, we're not even scratching the surface. There are so many other project management tools that we can use that once we get our head around how to edit and navigate things, we can definitely tap into. All right. The next thing is, if in doubt, copy someone else. So what does that mean? Let's say that you're on a space of someone else. Let's say you're on the champion space, or you're in the ER space, and you go, wow, I really like this ask the sector configuration here. I think it's really useful. If in doubt, copy. Always go into the editor and you have a look and you see what macros have they used? What things are they currently using in that? So it's because we've got the theme press designer open. Close that. Go in here and see what macros they've used, what text they've used. They've used create from template. Oh, that's a cool macro. I don't know what that is. Find out what it is. Copy and paste it onto your space and see if you can have a play around with it. All right. What's the discussion list macro? Go in there, install it on your space. Go to the drop-in playground and have a play and see what it does for you. All right. And if you are having trouble, you can always come back to us and ask. All right. The third point is be patient with yourself and call if you need to. There's no point sitting down at your desk, ripping your hair out, trying to do something, and there's no point saying to yourself, everyone else can do this so easily, and it's only you that has an issue. I guarantee you that is very, very untrue, all right? Just be patient with yourself, embrace the fact that this is a new tool, it's a new skill, and it will take a bit of time, all right? And that if you put a little bit of effort in, you will have the payoffs, and it will save you time in the long run, because engaging a network is not an easy task, and this is one tool that might be able to help us be more efficient with that in the long run. All right. And the final thing is, don't be afraid of doing it wrong. There's no such thing as being wrong on this system, and like I always say, whatever you do, we can undo if you don't like it. All right. To find out more, you can watch this tutorial again. I had a bit of trouble figuring out how I'm going to record these and then re-upload them, but I think I've managed to figure it out, so we should be uploading them relatively soon, and you can go back. But again, you can call our support team or email us. Just a bit of information. Currently, our team is a little short on numbers, but hopefully we'll be getting a few more people on soon, and we'll be back to full capacity at the end of August, beginning of September nonetheless. We do still have people available to help you, but if we take a little bit of time to get back to you, that's why. Okay? So I'll finish it up there. But if anyone wants to stay on and ask more questions, I'm available. So let me know. Nope. Coming out of here. Oh, I'm having an issue viewing this. Oh gosh. Sonia, I'm not sure if you had a question, because I'm having trouble being able to view it here. Just bear with me. Aha, here we go. Finally, I can have a look. Oh, no. Oh, goodness, it was all fine until the end of this webinar. Now I can't view any of the questions if you have them. Just give me a sec. All right, Sonia, I'm afraid this is not working and it's not allowing me to see it. Oh, here we go. There we go. Now I'm finally seeing that. So, Sonia, your question. I've finally seen it now. Couldn't figure out how to use the basic text editing, italics, font size, etc., which is probably covered in Dropin 101. No, not necessarily. I don't think I would have necessarily always gone through that. I can quickly show you that now. So let's say that I'm here and I wanted to change the way this text looked and this text looked. But go into the block editor, that's where you're going to want to do these things. You're going to see there's a few different options. So it's obviously not as comprehensive as your Word and stuff like that, but it is still quite good. The main one that you want to use, you've got different headings, so paragraph, and you can do the different heading sizes. So this one I think is using heading 2. So it's why it's quite big, but then let's say I wanted to make it a little smaller, I could do that and make it heading 3. It doesn't look so different here. When you see it on the outside, you will. But if I wanted to change this, sometimes I like to change click. You've got italics here. You should just work that way. Ask a question. Maybe I might want to do it that way. All right, and underline it. There's a few different options here. This is your colours. All right, so you've got quite a large range of different colours that you can use there. This one's got a few other ones. I don't know what they all mean, but I know strike through. So that one's obviously an option that you can use there. And then you've got your bullet points. This is a task, which we do cover in the 101 section, which is a favourite of mine. And then you've got your paragraph kind of alignment. This one here is your page layout. So sometimes if you wanted to structure your page in a different way, you can do this. And so you see you have this little dot box. Maybe I wanted to make a few different columns. You can do it like that, all right? Or maybe I wanted to make one small column and a big one. So there's a few different options that way you can do there, okay? So if I save that, it will see here. You can see here that the text has changed. That's come up as italics. That's come up as underlined. All right. I tried to change the name of the page and couldn't get the font size beyond heading 2. Yeah, that's actually a limitation. You can't change this at all. You can change what's in here, but you can't change the way this one looks. So yeah, unfortunately, that is a limitation that we have there. Okay. Any other questions from you, Sonia? Happy to stay on board. I've got a few more minutes to help you out. No worries. So do you want me to answer a specific question for you, or do you want me to go back to those space details and show you what's there? Okay, no problem at all. Have a bit of a play with what we've gone through today. It's a lot of information, so be patient with yourself. And then if you do have any questions, just follow up with a phone call. Happy to work through things again, and we can maybe build on this knowledge by adding some of the other stuff a little bit later on. Like your help with your space specifically. So, yeah, sure. Sonia, remind me again the name of your space, I'm afraid. Complex trauma. All right. What would you like us to do on your space there for you, Sonia? The size of this? Actually, what I might do, Sonia, is because I'm helping you on your space, I might just stop the recording, and that way then